A false choice can offer two answers while quietly making both answers surrender the same boundary. The practical test is to name the shared cost, reject the forced frame, and ask what option exists outside it. Someone asks whether you will agree now or prove you never cared, so either offered answer gives them control over the decision. The first distinction around the choice is consent, because information may be offered while ownership of the next choice must remain visible. The pattern here is a forced frame where both offered choices produce the same surrender. Psychologically, urgency and guilt narrow attention until choosing between the offered answers feels safer than questioning the setup, which lets emotional pressure arrive before anyone has examined the offered pair. Maybe the question is whether you will share the password or admit you have something to hide, leaving privacy outside the frame. That first example matters because the offered pair sounds ordinary while the hidden cost appears only after resistance. Maybe the choice is accept the plan tonight or prove you are not committed, even though asking for time is the reasonable third option. The second example shows why repetition around that forced frame matters, because a fair misunderstanding becomes clearer while pressure keeps protecting the same outcome. Map the missing option in order. A false choice becomes visible when both offered answers require the same surrender. The sequence behind the missing option is more reliable than a guess about motive. The next useful distinction for the shared cost is this. A double bind makes self-protection look selfish by attaching guilt to every offered answer while hiding the right to reject the frame. That distinction keeps the shared cost tied to observable behavior. A practical response starts here. I am not choosing between those two options. The decision I need to make is different. Say it once, and watch whether the artificial deadline becomes clearer or simply finds another route back to the demanded outcome. The evidence test for the choice is whether questions produce real constraints, visible consequences, another reasonable option, and enough time to compare them instead of more guilt or urgency. One tense exchange around the offered pair proves very little. Concern rises when the offered pair forms a repeatable structure where a reasonable alternative keeps disappearing. Slow that forced frame down by writing the request, the offered options, the missing option, and the consequence attached to disagreement. A healthy misunderstanding about the missing option usually creates room for correction. Pressure often makes that clarity inconvenient. Use this reality check for the shared cost. Relationship, workplace, and family examples can use different words while hiding the same shared cost inside both offered answers. Exact wording around the shared cost exposes what an emotional summary may hide. The aftermath of the conversation matters too. Ask whether the interaction gave you usable information or merely made you more afraid to reject the frame. Ask for time, name another option, or keep the original boundary. Do not overstate what the choice proves. An imperfect exchange involving the choice can still improve without becoming a control pattern. The threshold is crossed when the offered pair repeatedly makes autonomy, verification, or another reasonable option feel disloyal. A small experiment can clarify that forced frame. Pause before responding to that forced frame, request one concrete fact or state one narrow limit, then observe the response. If the conversation is repairable, the response can tolerate specifics and a slower decision without erasing the missing option. When pressure protects the missing option, the delay often becomes the new offense. Keep safety ahead of proving anything about the shared cost. For a risky test of the shared cost, use written communication, distance, trusted support, or qualified help. A boundary around the artificial deadline is not a diagnosis. It is your decision about what evidence and process you require before answering the forced choice. Remember this protection rule. Do not answer a double bind before checking what both answers require you to give up. And with agency, refusing a false choice protects the real decision from a frame where both offered answers surrender the same boundary. A viewer learning about the choice should leave with a clearer next choice, not a scarier label. Two buttons do not create freedom when both buttons lock the same door. A double bind often hides the missing option by making hesitation look disloyal. Name the cost attached to yes before comparing it with the cost attached to no. If both costs remove the same boundary, the frame deserves more attention than either answer. Time is often the first missing option inside a false choice. Privacy can be another missing option when disclosure is treated as the only proof of trust. A fair question can survive the answer, "I need another option." A forced frame usually attacks the person for questioning the offered choices. Write the third option in plain language before the emotional deadline closes around it. Rejecting a double bind is not indecision, it is refusing a rigged decision process. The safest answer may be no decision today while the real alternatives are gathered. A genuine decision becomes clearer when the false choice loses its artificial urgency. Ask whether either offered answer preserves the original right to decline. Notice when a moral label is attached to only one side of a private decision. Separate the decision itself from the relationship test wrapped around it. A missing option often appears once the artificial deadline is removed. You can decline the premise without insulting the person who asked the question. A reasonable option should not disappear merely because it reduces someone else's control. Compare what each answer changes tomorrow, not only which answer ends tension tonight. If new wording recreates the same forced outcome, the double bind has only changed clothes. Keep the real decision narrow enough that guilt cannot turn it into a verdict on your character. The final answer belongs to you after the frame, evidence, timing, and alternatives are visible. A fair frame can be rewritten. A fair answer can include not yet. A fair decision does not require self-betrayal. A fair question leaves the boundary visible. A fair process permits another reasonable option. The fastest way to expose a false choice is to write what both answers cost. If yes gives up privacy and no is treated as proof of guilt, the real demand is not honesty. The demand is access, with two emotional routes leading to the same result. Urgency often keeps the missing option hidden. A decision tonight may feel unavoidable because delay has been labeled rejection. Remove the deadline and ask what actually changes by morning. If nothing important changes, time was available even though the frame denied it. At work, a forced choice can sound professional. Accept an impossible deadline or admit you are not committed. The missing option may be a priority decision, additional resources, or a revised scope. Naming capacity turns a character test back into a planning problem. In families, the frame may use belonging. Attend every event or prove you do not care. A real relationship has more than two settings. You can care, decline one invitation, suggest another time, and refuse to let one decision define the whole bond. A useful response has three parts. Decline the premise, name the actual decision, and request a reasonable process. I am not choosing between trust and privacy. I am deciding what access is appropriate, and I will discuss that without an accusation attached. Watch what happens when you propose a third option. A fair conversation may reject it for a concrete reason, but it can discuss the reason. Pressure attacks the act of finding another option because the narrow frame was producing the leverage. Not every limited menu is manipulation. Emergencies, contracts, and practical constraints can create genuinely narrow choices. The difference is whether the limits are real, disclosed, and applied consistently, or invented mainly to make one person surrender faster. The emotional clue is often relief. One offered answer ends the tension immediately, even though it creates a larger cost tomorrow. That relief can make compliance feel like the sensible option. Compare the next day, next month, and next boundary before choosing tonight. If both answers involve consequences, ask who controls those consequences. Natural consequences exist without anyone threatening them. Manufactured consequences are added to punish the option the other person dislikes. That distinction helps separate a hard choice from a rigged one. Refusing the frame is still a decision. You may decide not yet, neither option, or only under different conditions. That is not avoidance when the offered answers conceal the real issue. It is the step that makes an honest decision possible. After the pressure passes, review the original question in plain language. Remove the accusation, deadline, and relationship test. If the remaining decision is much smaller than the emotional frame suggested, that difference shows how much leverage the false choice was creating. A fair outcome can survive a calm pause. Save this for the next confusing conversation, and subscribe if you want these patterns easier to name.